You destroyed our $3,000 drone. You vandal. We're suing you for everything, plus damages and legal fees." The HOA president screamed it in my face, slamming the lawsuit papers against my door with a smug grin, like she already won. My only crime? Knocking their surveillance drone out of the sky after it hovered outside my 16-year-old daughter's bedroom window at dawn. That thing was filming her while she was changing. For weeks, that buzzing predator had stalked the neighborhood, circling over barbecues, kids' sleepovers, and family dinners, turning our homes into a surveillance prison. But when it turned its lens on my own child, I grabbed a pole and smashed it down. The crash into the bushes was the only justice I could give myself at that moment. But now they were coming for my house, my savings, everything. Would you let them spy on your teenage daughter? But here's the twist. I didn't just break their drone. I recovered footage. And what that footage revealed exposed their illegal spying operation. The price they were about to pay starts now. Hi, I'm Rex Caldwell, 45, divorced electrician, and according to my HOA board, public enemy number 1. 6 months ago, I moved to Willowbrook Estates, thinking I'd found suburban paradise for me and my 16-year-old daughter, Sage. Manicured lawns, quiet streets, the kind of neighborhood where the biggest scandal should be Mrs. Johnson's garden gnomes facing the wrong direction. The realtor's spiel about community standards should have been my first red flag. My morning coffee always had this perfect mix of steam and sawdust floating in from my garage workshop. I was actually optimistic about our fresh start. That delusion lasted exactly 18 days. Then came Delilah Winters, HOA president, real estate agent, and walking proof that small amounts of power can turn good people into monsters. Picture your most entitled Karen. Now give her legal authority over your property and a blonde bob sharp enough to cut glass. She materialized at my door on a Tuesday with a measuring tape and a smile so fake it could have been molded from plastic. "Mr. Caldwell, your shed violates setback requirements by 14 inches. I showed her my city permit, full compliance with all municipal codes. But she wasn't having it. "City permits don't supersede our covenants," she chirped, clicking her pen like she was keeping score. And just like that, $500 fine. The next day, my mailbox was the wrong shade of black, $200. Sage's basketball hoop made too much noise at 3 p.m., $300. That floral perfume she wore after each visit hung in the air like some bureaucratic poison cloud. "She's targeting you," Mrs. Finley, my 72-year-old neighbor, whispered one night. The rest of us don't get hit this hard. That's when I cracked open the HOA covenant book. 50 pages of legal gibberish, written to find violations in anything and everything. Aesthetic standards must align with community values. Translation: we'll make up rules as we go. But here's the thing about being an electrician. I document everything. Every wire, every violation, every safety issue. So I started photographing every fine, every inspection, every time Delilah showed up with her measuring tools. And then I got smart. I started recording her visits. At first, it was just audio. But then I switched to video when she wasn't looking. Professional paranoia? Sure, but something about this whole operation felt off. The gravel crunched under my boots as I walked through the neighborhood. I'd watch neighbors dive inside whenever Delilah's white Mercedes prowled by, like it was a suburban shark circling prey. And then came her masterpiece, enhanced security measures. At the monthly HOA meeting, she announced their new toy with the kind of enthusiasm usually reserved for dictators unveiling surveillance systems. Comprehensive property compliance monitoring through advanced aerial technology. Translation: we bought a drone to spy on you. Garrett Bloom, the vice president and professional clipboard holder, nodded like this was perfectly normal. I pulled out my phone and hit record. If they want to play Big Brother, I'd make sure I documented every second of it. "Any questions?" she asked. I raised my hand. "What's your policy on privacy?" I asked. Her smile froze, a coldness washing over the room. Recording through windows? Privacy? We don't have that luxury in this community, she said, and I knew then. This wasn't just petty bureaucracy. This was warfare. That night, I set up my first security camera. Not just for protection, but for evidence. If Delilah wanted to turn our neighborhood into a police state, I'd make sure I had proof. What I didn't know was that in 2 weeks, their drone would be hovering outside my daughter's bedroom window, and I'd be reaching for something a lot more effective than a camera. The drone showed up on a Monday morning like a mechanical vulture. I was sipping coffee when that buzzing sound cut through the peaceful morning. Through my kitchen window, I watched it hovering over my backyard. The camera gimbal rotated like a robotic eyeball, hunting for violations. Sage poked her head out. "Dad, what's that noise?" "Our new big brother," I said, already grabbing my phone. "Two can play this game." It made lazy circles for about 15 minutes before drifting over to terrorize the Johnsons. I was staring at $3,000 worth of privacy invasion funded by our own HOA dues. I remember reading somewhere that flying drones over private property for surveillance without consent wasn't just creepy, it was federally illegal with serious penalties. Great. My HOA was breaking federal law with my own money. That night, I pulled up the board meeting minutes. Security Enhancement Fund, $5,000 approved. No homeowner vote. $3,000 for a DJI Phantom 4 Pro. The rest for operational expenses. Probably Garrett's gas money driving around our neighborhood like a suburban dictator. Then came the first real confrontation. Sage was studying outside, sprawled on her blanket when the drone descended, hovering directly overhead. "Dad, it's here again," she said, bolting for the house. I exploded outside. "Get that thing away from my daughter." Garrett stood there, controller in hand, smirking like he'd just caught us in some huge crime. "Public airspace, buddy," he said, checking for violations. "What violations?" I asked, incredulous. "Section 4.7b, unauthorized ground covering," he said, referring to Sage's blanket. I started recording everything, capturing every ridiculous moment. That night, I filed a formal complaint. Rejection letter came back faster than a package from Amazon. Aerial monitoring complies with all applicable community standards, they said. I posted our story in the neighborhood Facebook group, video evidence included. 47 reactions, 23 comments, and suddenly, my phone was buzzing with private messages from other victims. Mrs. Finley's grandkids were terrified. The Miller's dog wouldn't leave the house. Sarah Martinez caught the drone filming her toddler through the window. But Delilah's real masterstroke was the fine avalanche that followed. Grass exceeded the maximum height by 3.2 inches. Failure to remedy within 24 hours, $50 a day. It was piling up like interest on a payday loan. I wasn't going to let this go. My lawyer buddy Jake thought I was pranking him until I showed him the documentation. "This is systematic harassment," he said. "Rex, keep recording everything," he advised. "But for Christ's sake, don't give them ammunition." But I was already 3 steps ahead, filming every drone encounter, screenshotting every bogus fine, and building a case file that would make the FBI proud. Garrett's truck became my daily alarm clock. He'd park across from my house, watching me like a hawk. Then Friday evening brought the breaking point. I was grilling burgers for Sage and her friend when the drone showed up again, right at eye level, camera zooming in on the girls' faces. "Why is that robot staring at us?" Emma whispered. I marched up to Garrett, controller in hand. "You're filming minors without consent. Pretty sure that's a felony." Section 2.4c limits outdoor social activities to immediate family unless permits are filed 72 hours in advance, he said, all smug. That's when I realized Garrett wasn't just flying the drone randomly. He was following a pattern, specifically targeting families with teenagers. I started documenting every moment, even when he started filming me, filming him. "Smile, Garrett. You're now starring in my harassment documentation. The harassment escalated. The drone stalked Sage to her school bus stop. My phone buzzed. Dad, it's following me again. I drove over, phone rolling, Garrett's clipboard in hand, making more violations out of thin air. My neighbor Mrs. Finley showed me footage of her granddaughter's terrified face when the drone hovered over her while she played. This wasn't just a violation of our rights. It was targeted surveillance of children. And then came the final piece. Sage had been changing with her friends when the drone appeared outside her window. I lost it. That night, I grabbed my paintball gun and stepped into my backyard with the calm of a man who had finally had enough. I aimed and shot. The drone went down in a beautiful explosion of orange paint. Garrett came running. You destroyed HOA property, he screamed. You were filming my daughter getting dressed, I replied. And just like that, the game had changed. But they didn't stop. They hit me with a lawsuit, a restraining order. They even tried to change the HOA rules retroactively. But it was too late. The evidence I had was enough to bring the FBI into the fight. What came next? Well, the tables turned. And trust me, when your surveillance state comes crashing down, it's as satisfying as watching them scramble to cover their tracks.